The slap came so fast I didn't have time to react. My glasses went flying across the elegant ballroom floor as 200 guests watched in absolute silence. My cheek burned like fire, but the pain in my heart was 1,000 times worse. Juliet, my new daughter-in-law, had just slapped me at her wedding reception because I refused to hand over the keys to my apartment. "That's what you get for being so selfish," she screamed, her white wedding dress making her look like an angry angel of vengeance. "A woman your age doesn't need a 3-bedroom apartment. You should move to a retirement home and let us have it." The silence in the room was deafening. No one moved to help me as I crouched down, my hands trembling, to pick up my broken glasses. Some guests looked away, uncomfortable. Others whispered behind their hands. But no one, absolutely no one, dared to defend the poor 68-year-old mother-in-law who had just been publicly humiliated. My son Michael stood frozen beside his bride, his gaze fixed firmly on his polished shoes as if I were invisible. The son I had raised alone after his father died 20 years ago couldn't even look me in the eye. "You're not welcome here anymore," Juliet continued, smoothing her $20,000 wedding gown that I had secretly helped pay for. "Michael and I need to start our new life, and your apartment would be perfect for us while we shop for a house in the suburbs." For 3 years, I had endured her condescending comments about my worn-out clothes and my old-fashioned furniture. For 3 years, I had smiled politely when she suggested I was too old to live alone, but this public assault had crossed a line that should never have been touched. I stood up slowly, feeling all eyes on me like sharp needles. "My name is Martha Wilson. I am 68 years old, and I have lived my entire life with dignity and discretion." What no one in that ballroom knew, not even my own son, was that this poor old woman they were pitying was about to change everything. "I think it's time for me to leave," I said quietly, my voice steadier than I expected. As I walked toward the exit, the whispers followed me like poison. "Poor thing, she looks so frail," said Juliet's aunt. "The bride is right," added Michael's cousin. "That old woman can't take care of herself anymore." "She should be in a retirement home, not living alone in that big apartment," commented another guest with false compassion. Each word stabbed at my heart, but something else was growing inside me, a cold, clear determination I hadn't felt in decades. Outside, I called my friend Eleanor, who had left the reception shortly before the incident. "Eleanor, can you come pick me up from the Royal Oaks ballroom? Something happened." 20 minutes later, Eleanor's car pulled up. One look at my face told her everything she needed to know. "What did that woman do now?" she asked as I got into her car. "She slapped me, Eleanor, in front of everyone, because I wouldn't give her my apartment keys." Eleanor's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "She did what? And Michael? What did he do?" "Nothing. He just stood there, looking at his shoes." Eleanor drove in angry silence for a few minutes, then asked, "Do you want me to take you home?" "No," I said, making a decision that had been forming in my mind for months. "Take me to James Whittaker's house." "James Whittaker? Your husband's lawyer? At 9 o'clock at night?" "Yes. It's time, Eleanor. It's time to show them who I really am." The truth that no one knew was that my modest lifestyle was a choice, not a necessity. My late husband Harold hadn't been the simple office manager everyone believed. He had been a brilliant investment strategist who made millions in the stock market while living well below our means. "Money attracts the wrong kind of attention," he always said. "Live simply, invest wisely, and keep your true worth private." For 45 years, I had followed that philosophy. Our modest house, my 15-year-old car, my simple clothes, all were choices, not limitations. Even Michael believed the story that his father had left us comfortable but not wealthy. Only James Whittaker, our family attorney and Harold's closest friend, knew the full extent of our fortune. James answered his door in pajamas and a bathrobe, surprised but not displeased to see us. "Martha? Eleanor? Is everything all right?" "No, James, it's not," I said. "We need to talk about Plan B." His eyes widened. Plan B was what Harold had called our contingency strategy, a series of legal and financial steps we had put in place in case Michael ever needed to learn some difficult lessons about life and values. Martha, are you sure? Harold was very specific about the circumstances under which my new daughter-in-law slapped me at her wedding reception tonight because I wouldn't give her my apartment. My son stood by and did nothing. James's expression hardened. Come in, I'll make some coffee. This might take a while. That night, we set everything in motion. James made calls, despite the late hour, to key members of our financial team. By morning, the machinery was in place for what Harold had called the greatest lesson a parent can teach. I slept at Eleanor's that night, waking at 6 a.m. to dozens of missed calls and messages from Michael. Mom, I'm so sorry about what happened. Juliet was just stressed. Please call me back. Mom, where are you? We're worried. Mom, Juliet wants to apologize. Please come to our apartment tomorrow. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I called James. Is everything ready? I asked. Yes, Martha. The documents are prepared. The trustees have been notified. The bank transfers are scheduled. All we need is your final approval. You have it, I said, feeling a strange mix of sadness and liberation. Let's meet at my apartment at 1 o'clock. Tell Michael and Juliet to be there at 2. When James arrived at my apartment, he brought a thick folder of legal documents and a look of concern. Martha, are you absolutely certain? Once we do this, there's no easy way to undo it. I've never been more certain of anything, James. For years I've watched my son change from a kind, thoughtful young man into someone who stands by while his wife assaults his mother. It's time he learned who I really am and what I expect from the people in my life. At exactly 2 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Michael and Juliet stood there, both looking uncomfortable. Juliet was holding flowers, cheap ones from the supermarket, and wearing an expression of rehearsed remorse. Mom, Michael began immediately, Juliet has something she wants to say to you. Juliet stepped forward, thrusting the flowers at me without quite meeting my eyes. Martha, I want to apologize for what happened last night. The stress of the wedding got to me, and I overreacted. It was inexcusable. Her words sounded hollow, her eyes darting around my apartment, still assessing its value even as she apologized. Please come in, I said. James is waiting for us in the living room. James Whitaker? Michael looked confused. Dad's old friend? What's he doing here? I didn't answer, simply leading them into the living room where James sat with his folder of documents spread on the coffee table. Hello, Michael, James said formally. Juliet, please have a seat. They sat on the edge of the sofa, looking increasingly uncomfortable. Mom, what's going on? Michael asked. If this is some kind of intervention because of what happened. Let me get straight to the point. I interrupted. What happened last night was unacceptable. Not just the slap, but your silence, Michael. Your willingness to stand by while I was assaulted and humiliated. Mom, Juliet already apologized. An apology doesn't erase what happened, or the pattern of behavior that led to it. I took a deep breath. There are some things you need to know. Things I've kept from you for many years. James cleared his throat and opened the first folder. Michael, your mother and father established the Wilson Family Trust when you were born. That trust has grown substantially over the years. Michael's brow furrowed. A trust? What are you talking about? Mom lives on Dad's pension and Social Security. I couldn't help but smile slightly. No, Michael, I don't. Your mother, James continued, has been living well below her means by choice. The modest lifestyle you've observed has nothing to do with financial necessity. Juliet sat up straighter, her eyes suddenly alert. What exactly are you saying? I'm saying, I answered, that your assumptions about my financial situation have been incorrect. How incorrect? Juliet asked, her voice suddenly eager. James handed Michael a document. This is a summary of the Wilson Family Trust. As you can see, the current value is approximately $12 million. Michael's jaw dropped. Juliet snatched the paper from his hands, her eyes widening as she scanned the figures. 12 million? She whispered. But your apartment, your car, your clothes. We're all choices. I finished for her. Harold and I believe that wealth should be handled responsibly, not flaunted. But why keep this a secret? Michael asked, his voice rising. "Why let me think you were struggling? I've been worried about you." "Have you?" I asked quietly. "When was the last time you offered to help me with anything, Michael? When was the last time you called just to check on me, not to ask for something?" He had no answer. "For the last 3 years," I continued, "I've watched you transform into someone I don't recognize, someone who cares more about appearances than substance, someone who allows his wife to treat his mother with contempt." "That's not fair," Michael mumbled, but his voice lacked conviction. "What's not fair?" I said, my voice growing stronger, "is watching my son become someone his father would be ashamed of." Juliet interjected, her voice suddenly honey-sweet. "Martha, this is wonderful news. We had no idea you were so comfortable. This changes everything. We can help you manage your finances, invest wisely." "That won't be necessary," James interrupted, pulling another document from his folder. "As of this morning, Martha has activated the contingency clause in the Wilson Family Trust." "Contingency clause?" Michael echoed. James nodded and began to read from the document. "In the event that my son Michael demonstrates behavior inconsistent with the values his father and I sought to instill, particularly regarding family loyalty and respect, the inheritance he would have received will be redirected as follows." Juliet's face had gone pale. "Redirected? What does that mean?" "It means," I said calmly, "that as of 9 o'clock this morning, 75% of what would have been Michael's inheritance has been transferred to the Wilson Family Foundation, which supports education for underprivileged children. The remaining 25% will be held in trust for any children you may have, but neither of you will control those funds." "You can't do this." Juliet stood up, her face contorted with rage. "That money belongs to Michael. It's his birthright." "Actually," James said, "the trust was structured specifically to allow for these changes. It's all perfectly legal and binding." Michael sat in stunned silence, his face ashen. "Furthermore," James continued, "the financial support Martha has been providing secretly for the past 3 years will cease immediately." "Financial support?" Michael looked confused. I sighed. "Michael, who do you think has been paying half your rent for the past 3 years? Who do you think arranged for the special discount on your car insurance? Who do you think covered the final $15,000 for your wedding when you called in a panic 2 weeks ago, saying you couldn't afford the venue?" Michael's face showed his shock. "That was you?" I thought. "I thought it was a wedding gift from the venue, a special rate because we brought so many guests." "It was me," I said. "It's always been me, supporting you, helping you, loving you, even when you didn't see it." "Why?" he whispered. "Why would you do all that in secret?" "Because your father and I wanted you to feel independent, to believe in yourself." But somewhere along the way, independence became entitlement, self-confidence became arrogance. And now we've reached a point where you believe it's acceptable for your wife to assault your mother. Juliet had begun to pace, clearly calculating her next move. Suddenly she stopped and turned to me, her expression transformed into one of contrite sorrow. "Martha, there's been a terrible misunderstanding. I've always respected you deeply. Last night was a horrible mistake. I was overwhelmed, tired, emotional. We can work this out as a family." The sudden shift in her attitude was almost amusing, from rage to pleading in seconds, all because she realized money was still at stake. "Perhaps we can," I said, "but not today, and certainly not without significant changes in behavior from both of you." "What kind of changes?" Michael asked, finally finding his voice. "First, I expect genuine respect, not just when you want something from me. Second, I want regular, meaningful contact, not just calls when you need money or have a crisis. Third, I want to see both of you volunteer at the community center with me for the next year, every Saturday morning, working with people who have far less than you do." "Every Saturday for a year?" Juliet's mask slipped momentarily. "But we have plans, social engagements." "Those are my conditions," I said firmly. "And one more thing. I want a genuine, public apology from both of you for what happened last night, not just to me, but to everyone who witnessed it." Michael looked at Juliet, then back at me. "We'll do it, Mom, all of it, I promise." I studied my son's face. There was desperation there, certainly, but also something else, a glimmer of the boy he had once been, perhaps even a spark of genuine remorse. "James will draw up an agreement," I said. "In 6 months, if I see consistent evidence of sincere change, we can discuss modifying the trust arrangements." After they left, James stayed behind to finalize some paperwork. "Do you think they'll follow through?" he asked. "For a while," I replied. "The question is whether the changes will be genuine or just an act to get the money back." "And if it's just an act?" I smiled, feeling stronger than I had in years. "Then they get nothing but the valuable lesson that there are some things money can't buy, like my trust and respect." James nodded slowly. "Harold would be proud of you, Martha." "I know," I said, "and for the first time in a long while I'm proud of myself too." The next day, I received flowers, expensive ones this time, and a card with a lengthy apology from Juliet. Michael called, sounding more genuine than he had in years, asking if he could come visit, just him, to talk. When he arrived, he seemed different, humbler, more like the son I remembered. "Mom," he began, sitting across from me at the kitchen table, "I've been thinking about Dad a lot since yesterday, about the lessons he tried to teach me. I think I've lost my way." "Yes," I agreed. "You have." "I don't even know how it happened," he continued. "When I met Juliet, she was so exciting, so glamorous. She had all these plans for our future: big house, luxury cars, exclusive social circles. I started seeing myself the way she saw me, as someone destined for importance, for wealth. And your simple mother didn't fit that image," I added. He had the grace to look ashamed. "I'm sorry, Mom. Not just for the wedding, but for everything before that, for the way I've treated you. For the way I've allowed Juliet to treat you." "What about Juliet?" I asked. "Is she sorry too?" Michael hesitated. "She's adjusting. Finding out about the money changed things. She's angry you kept it secret, but also determined to prove she can change." "For the money?" "Maybe at first," he admitted. "But I've told her that this isn't just about getting the inheritance back. It's about becoming better people, the kind of people Dad would have been proud of." Over the following 6 months, I watched my son and daughter-in-law closely. They showed up for Saturday volunteering, Juliet initially counting the minutes, but gradually showing genuine interest in the families we helped. They called regularly, remembering details about my life, asking questions that weren't just formalities. Michael came by often, sometimes without Juliet, fixing things around the house, taking me to lunch, slowly rebuilding our relationship. After 6 months, I invited James over again to discuss the trust arrangements. "What's your assessment?" he asked. "Progress," I admitted. "Not transformation, but genuine progress." "Enough to restore the inheritance?" I thought carefully. "No, but enough to modify our approach, create a schedule of benchmarks, specific behaviors and values I want to see consistently. As they meet each benchmark, a portion of the inheritance gets secured for them." When I presented the new plan to Michael and Juliet, their reactions revealed much about their progress. Juliet immediately focused on the percentages and timelines, but without the desperate grasping of before. Michael seemed thoughtful, asking questions about the values each benchmark represented, not just the money attached to it. That evening, Michael called me. "Mom, thank you for giving us another chance. I know we don't deserve it." "Everyone deserves a chance to grow, Michael," I said, "even mothers who make mistakes." "You didn't make mistakes," he said. "You tried to protect me. I just wasn't ready to see it. And now I'm seeing a lot of things differently, including my marriage." 3 months later, Michael moved out of the apartment he shared with Juliet. The slap at the wedding had revealed deeper problems in their relationship, problems that couldn't be fixed just by the promise of money. She wasn't happy when I told her I wanted to focus on becoming a better person, not just getting the inheritance back. He told me over dinner at my apartment. She said I was becoming boring, too much like my father. I smiled. "Your father was the most interesting, honorable man I've ever known. If you're becoming more like him, I consider that a victory." A year after the wedding, my life had changed in ways I never could have imagined. Michael and I had rebuilt our relationship on a foundation of honesty and mutual respect. He had filed for divorce and was working with troubled teens at the community center where we volunteered. Juliet had moved to another state, still angry that her plan to secure my apartment and money had backfired so spectacularly. As for me, I had finally stepped into my full power. I no longer pretended to be less than I was. I served on the board of the Wilson Family Foundation, traveled when I wanted to, and lived my life on my own terms. The woman who stood in that ballroom with a burning cheek and a broken heart couldn't have imagined how that painful moment would transform her life. The slap that was meant to put me in my place had instead freed me to find my true place in the world, not as an invisible, underestimated old woman, but as someone with wisdom, strength, and the courage to demand respect. Sometimes it takes a single moment of clarity to change everything forever. For me, that moment came with a slap. But what followed was something far more powerful, the quiet strength of a woman who finally understood her own worth. My name is Martha Wilson. I am 69 years old, and this is what happened after my daughter-in-law slapped me at her wedding. Did you enjoy my story? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Where are you listening from? If you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss my next life story. Thank you for your support.